Okay, good morning everybody, and Hazak Baruch. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Monday morning as we are entering not only a new week but also a new book of the Hamisha Humshe Torah, the book of Shemot, the book of Exodus. And of course, we know that it's called a Chumash, the book that we study from, because of the word Hamesh, 5. Today's class is sponsored anonymously for the Refuah Shlema of all of Israel. Today's class is also dedicated to Lelun Nishmat Eliyahu ben Nizha Neti, sponsored by his granddaughter Judy Ashkenazi Shweke. Ruach Adonai tanihenu began eden hu v'chol b'nei tzad hashochavim imo b'chol hamim v'aslichot v'chen yehi ratzon v'nomar amen. My friends, we are studying this year the commentary of Rabbeinu Bachye. So everybody, we have an amazing Rabbeinu Bachye to study together today. And again, sometimes he goes deep into the text. Sometimes, especially in the beginning of the parasha, he always starts with every parasha a pasuk from Mishleh, a pasuk from Proverbs, and he goes deep into the pasuk, and somehow he connects the pasuk to the beginning of the parasha. What matters for us isn't how he connects it. The pasuk itself is worth studying, and the lessons that he derives from the pasuk. So let's jump in together everybody, into this pasuk. Today, he has a pasuk from chapter 25. Today's pasuk, let's read the pasuk together, and then let's see what color Rabbeinu Bachye is going to give to this amazing pasuk. The pasuk is in, again, Mishleh, chapter 25, pasuk Yud Bet. The pasuk says, Nezem zahav v'hali chatem. Nezem is a ring. Nezem zahav, a gold ring. Nezem zahav v'hali chatem. So over here, Shlomo HaMelech is saying that a gold ring and a gold ornament, just like, what does a gold ring do? Gold ring, it beautifies the person. A golden ornament, right? Beautiful. Person that wears jewelry. Today, it's a very expensive industry. Those that are married and that have anniversaries know how expensive sometimes jewelry can be. Yes? But the women wear it and it beautifies them. So the same way a golden ring or a golden ornament beautifies a person, says Shlomo HaMelech, Mochiach Hacham al Ozen Shoma'at. That's equally how beautiful is a wise person's reproof in a receptive ear. Explains Rabbeinu Bachye, basically again, the pasuk is telling us that it's beautiful not only to wear jewelry, but the same way jewelry beautifies the body. What beautifies the person? The character of a person is beautified not by jewelry. Jewelry is for the physical body. But what beautifies the character of a person is receiving criticism, receiving rebuke. So that's going to be today's class. It's not something easy to do. Think about the last time somebody criticized you. Think about the last time maybe your parent told you something. Especially as we get older in life, it's much harder to hear it. When we're young, we know we have a lot to learn. But the older we get, the more successful we get, the less we think we need people to tell us what to do. I have my own conscience. I know what I need to do. I know where I need to improve. I know what my blind spots are. I know where improvement is needed. I don't need you to tell me, right? Especially if the one rebuking you is your wife or your husband. Even harder sometimes to receive, right? About how we're raising the kids, or about our maybe we're being lazy, or whatever they're telling us, right? It's hard to receive it. It's hard to hear criticism. Shlomo HaMelech, let's read Rabbeinu Bachye together. We have a lot to read, and he has a lot to tell us. Here we go. Shlomo HaMelech alav shalom, King Solomon, may he rest in peace. Yazhir bakatuv hazeh, is warning in this pasuk al midat tochahat. He's warning us when it comes to tochacha. Again, tochacha, we're going to use that word a lot today. It means reproof, criticism. Lefi shekol haTorah kula tluya betochahat. Really, the whole Torah is based on a person being able to accept reproof. Shekol hamekabel tochahat ve'yishma lekol mochihav. Whoever is able to listen to those that are criticizing him, rebuking him, disciplining him, hinezo mida elyona. This is a very, very high attribute. kolelet kol hatovot, which encompasses many, many good things. Vehi siba lekiyum haTorah, and it's really the way a person will start following the Torah, keeping the Torah. If a person can't receive criticism, so a person's going to tell us what we're doing wrong. You know, I saw what you did on Shabbat, you're not allowed to do that. I saw what you ate, you're not allowed to eat that. I saw how you spoke, you're not allowed to talk like that. A person that can't hear criticism, there's no way he's going to be able to keep the Torah, because there's many things that people are going to tell us that are against the Torah that we're not going to be able to hear. We have our ego in the way. Somebody that doesn't like to hear being told that he's wrong is a very ugly trait. That encompasses a lot of evil. And it's going to really lead the person to no longer keep the Torah. And this person very likely going to just throw off of himself the yoke of Torah. And from here Shlomo says, Musar ra la'azov. This is a pasuk in Mishle Tetvav 15. Pasuk says, Musar ra le'ozev orah, soneh tochahat yamut. He explains, Ki kashe me'od soneh tochahat min ha'ozev orah. Ki mi she'ozev orah vehu porek ol mizvah ahad me'alav ye'enash bemusar ra. Somebody that throws off of himself the yoke of mitzvot, he's going to be punished. But he'll only get punished. He won't receive the death penalty. But over here, Rabbeinu Bachya says that somebody that disregards receiving rebuke will eventually lead to his death. And therefore, my friends, look at this. Person in life has to open their ears, be open to receiving tochaha, criticism. And he's explaining, really, criticism, we have to realize, is like jewelry to the soul. The same way jewelry to the body is regular jewelry that we wear, a ring, necklace, bracelets. Jewelry for the soul is criticism. Now again, we don't like to receive it. We don't like to be told that we're acting maybe incorrectly. It's hard because we're trying. We are trying. We are doing good. To have someone else come and tell me. One time a guy came and told me in the most beautiful way, by the way. He came and said, Rabbi, I saw you doing this, you shouldn't be doing that. And it was very hard to hear it. It's not easy to hear, even when the person tells you in a polite way, privately, even when they follow all of the rules. But over here, Rabbeinu Bachya says, the same way rings and ornaments beautify the body. We have to realize that the jewelry for our soul, you should really pay for, by the way. You should pay for people to criticize you. Right? And the truth is, a lot of people in life pay a coach to help them. In business, they pay people to help them in their, in maybe losing weight or in fitness. So the truth is, we have to realize we should be ready to pay people to criticize our character. Because character, we have to realize, is not something that we're automatically born with good midot. We're not necessarily born with that. We have to work on developing it. It's something that comes with a lot of hard work. וזהו שאמר נזם זהב וחלי חתם הוכיח חכם על אוזן שומעת. כאשר יוכיח חכם על אוזן שומעת, המשיל אותה לנזם וחלי. The same way, again he's explaining, the same way somebody rebukes someone else, that is equal to receiving jewelry. כי הנפש מתפארת ומטיפה בעדי הנזם והחלי. Because the soul really grows from being told where it needs to improve. Now, hatochaha hi al shnei chalakim. Now he explains what is exactly rebuke and to who should we rebuke. Listen to this. Ha'ehad mehuyav ve'hasheni nimna. There's one group of people that you should rebuke. There's another group of people that you shouldn't rebuke. Be very careful, he says. Because everything that I'm telling you here, the importance of A, receiving criticism, and B, giving it. But you should realize that not everyone should you give it to. There are some people that you're wasting your time. There are some people, they can't hear it. And you're just talking on deaf ears. HaMehuyav, the people that you should criticize, Hu shenitztavinu leochiach gimel kitot. 3 types of people. Vehem, and here they are. Chachamim, number 1, wise people. Wise people you should criticize. A chacham, a smart person, will know how to take it. That's a person that you should rebuke. Number 2, petaim. Peti is someone simple. And number 3, ne'arim, children. Those are the 3 categories that we should discipline. Hanimna, however, there are people that we shouldn't discipline. And who are they? Number 1, letzim. A letz, a scoffer. Someone who doesn't take life seriously. A kesil, number 2, a ksil. Someone who's a fool. Don't rebuke them either. And number 3, the sha'im, wicked people. Those 3, they won't accept it. The Pasuk says, he quotes one for each. Look at this. Al tochach letz pen yisna'eka. Famous Pasuk in Mishle. Don't rebuke a scoffer. Why? Because he's really going to hate you for it. A scoffer, you give him criticism, he's not going to hear it. He's going to hate you more. Who do you think you are? You don't know anything. Okay? We find, he says, Yirmiyah, Haya meser bene doro. Yirmiyah used to rebuke the people of his time, who were letzanim. And what did they do back when he rebuked them? Did they say thank you for the musar? Did they say thank you for correcting us? Hayu mekalelin oto. They cursed him. Could you imagine cursing Yirmiyah? Hu she'amar, and this is the Pasuk in Yirmiyah. Pasuk says, Lo nashiti velo nashubi kulo mekalelani. Okay? Viksilim. Okay, so basically he's saying the people that I rebuke, they just curse me. So that's the first group of people that you shouldn't criticize. A scoffer. Someone, again, who doesn't take anything seriously. Life's a joke. Number 2, a ksil, a fool. Hu shekatuv, this is what it says in Mishle, Be'ozne ksil al tedaber, ki yabuz. What does the Pasuk say? Let's get the punctuation correct. Be'ozne ksil al tedaber, ki yabuz lesechel milecha. Be'ozne ksil, in the ear of a ksil, of a fool, al tedaber, don't talk. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your energy. Ki yabuz, because he's going to just mock what you had to say. Ki aletz, because he says the first guy, yisna'enu. The first guy, the scoffer, if you rebuke a scoffer, he's going to hate you. A fool, though, you ready? A fool, if you rebuke a fool, yekale dvarav v'yavuz lesechel milav. He's going to just ridicule what you have to say. Resha'im, the third group, hu shekatuv yusar letz lokeach lo kalon. If you rebuke a letz, you're going to be the recipient of ridicule. Umochiach lerasha mumo. But if you rebuke a rasha, it's going to lead to your own blemish. What does that mean? If you rebuke a rasha, it's going to lead to your own blemish. What does that mean? Kilomar, he explains. Hamochiach lerasha. If you rebuke a wicked person and you start telling him what he's doing wrong, he's going to say, you ready? The guy's going to say back to you, Taliti teora mishecha. You're telling me what to do? My robe is cleaner than yours. You're not the one to talk. You know what I saw you do last week? And they're going to start spitting it back. And therefore, the rebuke that you're giving is going to end up being thrown back on you. And therefore, don't waste your time with these 3 people. Eluhem hakitot hahelek hanimna. Okay? Kitot hahelek hamehuyav, but the 3 people that you should criticize, the 3 people that you should discipline, chachamim, like it says, chocheach lechacham veyehaveka. A wise person, if you want to know if somebody's chacham or not, See how they respond to discipline. Okay? It's a good litmus test. Go to somebody, and again, we've given many classes in the past of how to give criticism. Criticism is not something that we should just give lightly. There's a lot of chokhmah, there's a lot of wisdom that needs to go into how we discipline. But if we follow the rules and we rebuke people the right way, if you want to know if the person that you're rebuking is a chacham, see how they respond. A chacham will love you. They'll say, wow, thank you so much for telling me. Thank you for correcting me. I didn't see that in myself. I didn't know that I was doing that. I have this blind spot that you're opening my eyes to. I really appreciate it. If they respond like that, wow, that's a chacham. David HaMelech says, Bakamim alai mereim tishma'na oznai. David HaMelech says, whenever my enemies would stand up against me, whenever they would start talking, tishma'na, I would open my ears. David HaMelech knew that when there's people that are going to start, his enemies, when they start talking, what are they going to tell him? They're going to tell him the truth. Sometimes the truth hurts. But David HaMelech says, you know what? That's valuable information. I need to hear from my enemies the truth about who I am. I'm selfish, I'm lazy, I'm arrogant, I'm not compassionate enough. I need to hear that. And therefore, David HaMelech would open his ears whenever he would have people standing up against him to give him rebuke and discipline. So number one, if you want to know if the person that you're talking to is chacham or not, see how they respond to criticism. Because first of all, he says the first group that you should criticize is a chachams, wise men. Because sometimes even wise people, even tzaddikim, they make mistakes. By mistake, b'shogeg, derech mekreh, something happened, and they need to be told what they did wrong. Number two, peta'im, simple people. Shne'emar latet lepta'im orma. Number three, ne'arim, children. Shne'emar lena'ar da'at umzima. So these are the three people that we should discipline. Again, wise people, people that are simple, and people that are young, children. Ve'ikar atochaha hu lena'ar. And really, out of the three, the main category in life that we should be focusing on disciplining is our children. People when they're young. Because really his mind is not fully developed. And furthermore, Yetzer Hara kodem bo leYetzer HaTov, Yud Gimel Shana. Also, children, they don't have a Yetzer HaTov yet. This is a famous teaching that we believe in, that people, when they're born, they have an evil inclination, but the Yetzer HaTov only comes in the bar or bat mitzvah. So for 13 years, they only have the evil side pushing them, and therefore, they need to hear criticism. They need to be told what's right, what's wrong. A lot of times we see our children acting up. They're being disrespectful. They're being fresh. And we wonder, what's the matter with them? How could they be talking like this? The truth is, that's normal. They're supposed to be talking like that. What do you expect? Children are not supposed to be born angels. They're born actually with a Yetzer Hara. It's our job to educate them. It's our job to discipline our children. And we have to make sure that we're doing that. Because children, children, when they're young, all they care about is the body, enjoying, playing. Therefore, when they're still young and their nature is still soft, they need criticism to guide them, to bring them in the correct path. It's a big opportunity to allow them to hear the ways of the Torah, the ways of proper conduct. Okay. If we're not going to discipline our children, if we're going to just leave them and say, oh, they'll straighten out by themselves. then by the time their minds are a little bit more developed, Yil'eh lehashiv ahor hanagato. He's going to be refusing to really change his ways. Ve'ota hanhaga tova hi im ra'a lo tefared mimeno le'olam. Whatever they grew up with, usually you should know, they're going to probably stay with that forever. It's very hard to change character after a certain age. That's why they always say, when picking somebody for marriage, it's very important to pick somebody that has good midot. What's the number one thing you should look for? Really, I'm going to tell you something now. It's not me, but it's something that we find even in the Torah. But more than in religion, it's more important that they should have a good character. Because religion, ideology, that they could change. People easily could become more religious. You see it all the time. People, as they get older, they start getting connected. Religion is not something that should be the number one concern. It's very important, but the number one concern really is midot. Because character, if a child wasn't raised with discipline, with tarbut, with being told proper conduct, being respectful, etc., when they get older, it's going to be very, very hard for them to hear what needs to be told, to change. You can't really change people from their bad midot. That's why Abraham Avinu, when he was looking for a wife for Yitzchak, he told Eliezer not to take a girl from Canaan. Right? He said, Eliezer, you have to go get someone from my hometown, where I came from Haran. Because here, this town over here, they don't raise their kids with discipline. The children, they have very bad midot. And therefore, if we're going to bring a girl into the home, even if I raise her for the next 100 years, whatever she got as a kid, it's going to stay with her. The time, the opportunity, the window of opportunity to discipline children is when they're young. That's when we could still mold them. Hanoch lana'ar al pi darko, he quotes over here pasuk, that in life we have to make sure that we educate our children when they're young. Gam ki yazkin lo yasur mimena, because when they get older, they'll have that for life. I saw one time a beautiful line. If you raise your children, then you'll be able to spoil your grandchildren. But if you spoil your children, then you're going to have to raise your grandchildren. Very powerful line. That means that we have to make sure that as parents that we're raising our kids. Because as they get older, very unlikely that as they get older they'll change. We're more stuck, we're more stubborn. This is who I am, this is what I do. Because we're used to living like that for so many years. And therefore, it's our job to discipline when they're young. And then with this, for the rest of his life, that child will have proper conduct. That's why Shlomo always in his book, Mishleh, he tells us to rebuke our children. The whole book, so many psukim revolve around this. He quotes over here a few psukim, we're not going to go through all of them. Right? And he says, even though it may seem like they're not listening, don't think it's too late for my child. They won't listen. It's not true. So long that they're still young, you could still give them the staff of discipline, the rod of discipline. You could rebuke them little by little. The words, maybe they're not listening right away. Maybe it looks like our kids are not doing what we would like. But don't worry. Because the words that we speak are soft. And with constant rebuke, it's going to make an impact. Just like you could find, he gives over here the famous example. Tell me if you remember where this is from. Betipat hamayim, a soft drop of water. Shehiraka, which is very soft. Venoha And imashkida, with constant dripping, tikov hor be'even akasha, can make a hole in a rock. So just like water can make a hole in a rock, where do we find that by? Very good. Rabbi Akiva. The same way water could penetrate a rock, so too the words, the discipline that we give our children. Doesn't matter if they don't look like they're listening. Keep going at it. Keep drilling. Drill and drill. Soft. Of course, it has to be done the right way. Many times, parents, they tell their kids things you can't believe. How do you say that to a child? They're using words and just knocking. Rebuke doesn't mean to become a monster. Rebuke doesn't mean to become rude. Rebuke can be done in a beautiful way. It can be done in a loving way. But keep going at it. Person, hoshech shivto, soneh beno. Person who doesn't rebuke, really, it means they hate their children. Because Midrash says, if we're not going to rebuke our children, we think we're doing it out of love. We think, oh, I love them, I don't want to hurt them, I don't want to get on their bad side. He says the truth is, it's not real love. It's very temporary. It's very short-sighted to refuse to rebuke our children because we don't want them to get upset at us is being very unwise. Because the truth is, a person who doesn't rebuke, it's opposite of love. Because now you're failing to give your child tools that they need to succeed for the rest of their lives. The Midrash says, you know what's an example of somebody who hated his son and failed to rebuke them? You're not going to believe what I'm about to tell you. The Midrash says, Ze David, King David. King David, as much as we say about him great things, but he made a big mistake when it came to one of his children. Ve'ohavo, and we're going to come back to that in a minute. And the opposite is by Yaakov. Yaakov rebuked his children. And again, when you see two fathers, one father giving a lollipop, the other father disciplining, which father would you say loves his child more? You'd say the father who's giving a lollipop. But the truth is, Pasuk is telling us that if you love your child, you'll discipline them. Of course, you should also give them lollipops. But if you see a guy in a shul giving somebody a lollipop, you don't necessarily know that that guy is the kid's father. How do you know that it's the kid's father? When you see him taking away the lollipop. That's a dad. Guy giving a lollipop, anyone could give. The candy man could give. But only the father will take away the lollipop. You understand? A parent that really loves their child will sometimes have to take away the lollipop. Sometimes to discipline, to rebuke, to criticize the children. And he says over here, Kol hamonea musar mimenu, whoever fails to rebuke their child, lesof yotzeh letarbut ra'ah, eventually that child will go off the path. Sheken matzinu beYishmael. We find that as an example by Ishmael. And although his father was very close to him, lo radahu. This is wild. I don't know where he got this from. But Rabbeinu Bachya over here is talking and he's saying that Abraham didn't rebuke his son Ishmael. And because of this, he went off to a horrible path. Like the Pasuk says, Sarah noticed in Ishmael very bad behavior. Pasuk says about Ishmael that he was mitzahik. And mitzahik, Rashi says, is avodah zarah, it's gilui arayot, worst of languages, worst things. Ishmael. Why? Because Abraham didn't criticize him. He didn't raise him properly or properly enough. Of course, Abraham, I'm sure, he did what he could to raise his child. But he was on his level, he was negligent in raising Ishmael. V'chen matzinu be'esav, same thing with Esav and Yitzchak. Lo radahu ve'yatzal tarbut ra'ah, because Yitzchak didn't criticize Esav. Esav went off the path. And we find the same thing by Adoniah, David's son. Hayah lo gagoin etzel aviv ve'lo radahu. David didn't discipline his son enough. And therefore, the Pasuk says, Lo atzavo aviv miyamav. David didn't want to ever upset his son. Sometimes, as parents, we don't want to upset our kids. You ever said that? Oh, I don't want to upset him. I want him to have a good time. He wants to go to his friend, let him go. He wants to sleep over, let him sleep over. He wants this, let him this. He wants to eat, let him eat. I don't want to upset him. Sometimes parents, we think we're doing our kids a favor by not upsetting them, quote unquote, by letting them just do whatever they want. We have to realize that at the end, parents are going to have to pay for that. Because the truth is, if you just let them do what they want, you're not disciplining them. You're not giving them proper character. Where are they going to get it from? They're not born with good midot. They're not born on the right path. That's something that as parents, it's our job to educate. We have to realize, again, when our children are misbehaving, that's the norm, that's the default. Parents, our job is to raise the children. Avshalom, also, David's other son. Unfortunately, he didn't raise him properly. He didn't discipline him. And what did he do? He slept with his father's wives. David had many wives. Avshalom slept with them, and he eventually rebelled against his own dad, and David had to run out of Jerusalem because of it. And he killed many people. And therefore, we have to be very careful when it comes to the children, not to be short-sighted. We have to realize that rebuking them, disciplining them is actually ultimately real love. Even though, again, in the moment it may be difficult. It may seem like we're being a cruel parent, a tough parent, to put our foot down. But ultimately that is what's best for the child. And the opposite, ohavo shaharo musar. When we love our children, we will give them criticism. Ze Avraham, this is an example, Avraham, who gave discipline to Yitzchak, and look how Yitzchak turned out. V'chen Yaakov yiseret banav, and same with Yaakov, because Yaakov rebuked his children. Lo haya bahem psolet. All of Yaakov's children came out perfect. Matter of fact, we are known as Bnei Israel. That's what we're called, Bnei Israel. We're not called Bnei Avraham. We're not called Bnei Yitzchak. We're called Bnei Israel, after the third father. Why? Avraham was the first. We should be called Bnei Avraham. Why are we called Bnei Israel? Why is it called Eretz Israel? We're called Am Yisrael. Why? Because Yaakov, the third, Yaakov is the only one that had all of his children pure. All of his children were on the right path. Avraham was great, but unfortunately he had Ishmael. Yitzchak also had an Esav. Yaakov is the only one. And again, Yaakov's children, it wasn't like they were born good. Some kids, they're born, you see some people, they have kids that are like angels. You're jealous of them. Wow, I don't know, what did my friend do to have such amazing kids? They're so pure, and they're always studying, and they're always going to shul. Why can't I have kids like that, right? We're jealous sometimes of our friends' children. I wish my kids were so easy. Right? They're always reading and learning, and in shul, they're saying Shema out loud. They're volunteering to read the Torah. Why can't I get kids like that? Right? The truth is, Yaakov didn't have kids that were necessarily easy. We find Reuven, look what he did. He moved the beds of his mother and his father. He took it out of Bilhah's tent and he moved it to his mother's tent. And that was something very wrong on Reuven's part. Shemot and Levi, the next two brothers, what did they do? They killed the whole city. Killed the whole city. Yehuda, he sold Yosef. It was his idea. So Yaakov's children were anything but easy. But at the end of the day, they all came around. Why? Because Yaakov disciplined his children. And on him, the praise is given. Yaakov Avinu alav shalom mochiach chacham. Because of this, the children now are like a ornament. They're like a golden ring. So this is today's class, my friends. Remembering, number one, really, he begins by saying that we need to be able to be humble enough to receive criticism. That's the first point. When somebody tells us, today, I challenge you, if someone tells you something wrong that you did, try not to defend yourself. Okay, today's exercise, hear it. Don't say anything, don't defend. Don't say, you know what, I'm going to say something, but the rabbi told me not to. Don't even say that. Today, say nothing. When somebody tells you something, hear it. Digest it. Say, thank you for telling me, let me think about that. And because really, that will be a good mark if we're chacham or not. If we're able to hear it, it means we're chacham. So that's point number one, hearing it and accepting discipline. And number two, making sure that we give discipline to the right people. Certain people don't give it to. You're wasting your time. A scoffer, a fool, a wicked person, they're going to throw it back at you. But Rabbi Bahya says, certain people that we should give it to. We should give it to a chacham. We should give it to our children. Our children, number one. Because so long that they're still young, we could give it. We could raise them. And again, please don't take this to mean that the second your kid comes home today, you should start yelling at him, what are you doing? I can't believe you left your shoes. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that you should start yelling and becoming a monster. Of course, criticism needs to be done the right way. We're not going to go today into how. We've spoken about many times in the past of how. In a loving way, positive, constructive criticism, the sandwich rule. Always, if it's done the right way. Even though maybe, again, in the short run, it looks like we're maybe being cruel to our children. But in the long run, sometimes we have to put our foot down. We have to take away, whether it's watching rights, TV, or playing games, whatever it is. Sometimes we have to say, you know what, listen, you did this wrong, you need a punishment. Even though, again, it looks like we're being cruel, but ultimately, it's proof, says Shlomo HaMelech, that we love our children. Actually, doing nothing is the cruelest thing that we could do. The biggest sign of love is the fact that we're doing something to ensure that our children, in the long run, will come out on the right path. Okay, everybody, we'll stop over here. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. God willing, we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.